everybody, it's Two Sisters DIY. I am getting ready to paint the Egg Hunt Bunny. As you can see it right here. This is what the picture of it looks like. Those that have ordered it should have their wood with their trace design, as well as all the little cups of paint. I don't have mine in cups, I have my bottles here. I'm using apple barrel paints today. And the colors that I'm showing that we need is we are going to be using a green. I've got the Christmas green, a lighter green, which is the spring green, a white, a dark pink, which is bright magenta, a yellow, which is canary yellow, and purple. And then we've got pumpkin orange, and then we've got a bright blue. Your colors may not match these exactly, but they're pretty close and they'll work for the design. We had picked some up from out of the studio. I'm at home with a makeshift paint area here for us. So you may hear some background noises of stuff. Probably the dogs. Don't worry about it. We're just outside on the porch. So if you haven't watched our prep video, make sure you watch that first. That'll tell you about how to get your workspace ready and about care of your brushes and stuff like that. So today we're going to be using these 8 colors. And we're going to be using our brushes, which all of y'all should have a selection of straight brushes and round brushes. Here's a round brush that's not in the little sleeve. Round brushes. So you want to make sure you have both of those available. Several in different sizes. I've got multiple sizes of straight, multiple sizes of round, and I've got a teeny tiny liner brush, but I don't think I'm going to need it for this design. I'm not thinking I'm going to need it. I only need this for very intricate designs, and I don't think any of y'all should have one of these in the sets we sent. We didn't send these out with our sets because it's not a design you would use it for. However, you should have, 8 brushes. Yep, I got 8 of them here. 8 brushes. Make sure with your setup, as I said in the video, you have your napkin to wipe off your brushes because we don't want to use wet brushes while we're painting, but we do want to be able to rinse them out. And you'll have your little pods of paint. I don't have pods, so I've got a plate that I'm just going to put my paint on to paint with today. I'll empty it out each one as I come to it. And so we're going to start off. Step 1, we're going to use some white and get our bunny painted. So get some white out on my tray. You all go ahead and get your white. Some of these are new paints, so they haven't even been opened yet, see? So get you some white out. Actually, you just got to pop the lid on yours. Now when we paint the bunny, I'm going to start with a small flat brush. We're going to paint the ear, not the inside of the ear, just the ear, the face, the hands, and the other ear. Those are all in white. So when I paint mine, I like to go along the edge first and then pull it into the inside. You don't want any thick spots of paint. You want to try to keep your paint pretty even. We're painting on wood today, so as you can see, this is a wood piece. There's lines in my wood. Those lines are the grain of the wood. It's easier if you paint with the grain of the wood, but it's not necessary. It just makes it easier, and it makes your paint lay flatter, and it gives you a better coating. Your grain may go this way, mine goes this way. Just depends on how it got traced onto your wood. So, outline the ear first, and then pull it to the center. Getting some of that thickness out of it so it's not a thick glob along the sides. We don't want thick paint. We want it to be thin and nice so we can keep it smooth. Use the size square brush that works, flat brush that works best for you. All of us are different on what we like. I personally like the smaller flat brushes when I'm doing around the edges because it gives me better control over that. Well, I'm outside today, so I'm glad we got some good weather today. I was going to paint this inside, but my other half is watching TV, and you'd hear all the TV in the background, and that would not be very good. I don't know how the rest of y'all are doing with this stay-at-home order, but I know some of these we delivered out. I was making deliveries yesterday even. And don't worry if you do paint over the lines. I know there's no black in this particular kit, but if you have black paint or a permanent Sharpie marker, let me see if I got one in here, like this, you can outline the black with that. So, once the paint's all dry, obviously. So let me get his other ear painted. Come along the edge first. I'm pretty good at outlining with the thin brush, but not everybody is, so I always tell people just use the Sharpie marker. It'll work just as well. No great secret to that. That's what these designs are drawn on the wood with anyways. I hope everyone's enjoying this virtual paint at home that we're doing. If we get enough response, we're going to keep doing this even after the quarantine, just so y'all can paint at home and not have to come into the studio if you don't want to. Plus, it lets you paint at your leisure because it's a recorded video. You get to watch it whenever it works for you. We might move on to doing some of them where they're live, but I know that gets harder for you kids to get on and get live because you're working with probably your parents' Facebook accounts right now to watch it in the event. And they're going to be back to work once this quarantine's over and not be sitting there next to you. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want little ones on Facebook without a parent around. But this might be a good way to occupy on a Saturday morning, a rainy day. So you want to try to get enough paint on that you don't see the wood color underneath, but you don't want so much on that it looks like puddles of paint. The puddles of paint are going to dry thick and not look as nice as a thin layer of paint. So let me get this up a little bit closer so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so see all these lines in here? And see right there? See right there? That's a puddle of paint. So we're going to smooth that puddle out and move that paint and get those lines worked out. So we got a nice, good coverage. See the puddle around the outside edge there? But we're getting it dark enough that you don't really see the brown wood underneath. If I did a lighter color, see like that, you can still see a little bit of tan there and it's not quite white. So we want to make sure we get it white everywhere, but without puddles. So take all the puddles out so we have no puddles of paint and it'll dry. This white will probably be dry before we get even moving to the next color. You want to try to make sure you give your paint time for it to dry in between different layers because you don't want to have wet paint next to wet paint because then it just smears it and then we just have a really hot mess. Let's get Mr. Bunny's face here. This one's called Egg Hunt Bunny. He just got finished with his Easter egg hunt and he's got his basket of eggs. He did pretty good. He got lots of eggs. That's why we have so many colors in this design because all those eggs are different colors. Oh, need to be careful. See where I just laid my hand in that white paint? It's okay if you get the paint on your hand because the paint will wash off, but you don't want to set your finger back down and paint another and get paint smeared to another area. I tend to use my pinky to stationary my hand a little, makes it easier to paint. It's okay. I know I'm painting over part of the eyes. It's okay. Because it's going to be, I can still see them underneath it. That's why we outlined it for you to make it easier for you to visualize it. And I can come back and still paint the eyes in. I can paint right over his mouth without any fear. I can see the mouth underneath the white, so it's not going to be a big deal. I'm actually going to paint over his nose, all of this. I'll paint over the eyes, all of him, because I can come back in with the other colors and lay it right on top of it. Once acrylic dries, you can paint it with another layer of acrylic with no problem. So I'm doing this, I like to go back and forth using both sides of the brush because I have paint on both sides and that gives it a nice smooth layer. See how smooth that's getting? So we have a nice bunny. Next we're going to do is paint his hands. I know some of y'all got your paintbrush set from us, some of you didn't. That's why I'm not really referencing what size paintbrush is because some of y'all don't have sizes on your brushes. But this is a very small flat. This one's actually a 6, but if you have something that's just small, you want to use it. The prep video explains what the brushes are, which ones are which. So hopefully you've watched that and you've got an idea of what your brushes are. Get his other hand over here. This is where he's holding this basket. He's holding on tight because he does not want to lose any of these eggs. He's a little thin over in this area of his face, so I'm going to thicken it up a little, just to get him a better coat of it. So I got all the white painted. So I'm going to rinse my brush out. Told you, glass of water, Solo cup if your mom doesn't want you to use her regular glasses, not a problem. You can use a Solo cup. Dry my brush off with the paper towel. It's all nice and dry. And then we're going to go on to the next step. Let this white dry just a few minutes. While it's still drying, I'm going to get my paint ready for the next one. We're going to be doing Sky, which is blue. There should be several shades of blue that y'all have. If you're, this makes it easier. We'll get them done. We're also got one of the eggs turns blue too, so. This was ill planning on my part by not having my paints open before I started doing this. But usually I'm at the studio and I have them all open. These are just my home paints, and I just got some of them, so they're new. So with the blue, we're going to do the sky, and we're going to do one of the eggs. One of the eggs is blue, so same thing at my small flat brush. I'm going to come in and paint the egg first. It is this second one on in the basket right there. Only because I'm letting the white dry more around there. So I'm going to come in and paint this blue egg. Outline it first. And paint the inside of it all. Pull it all in. Make it nice and smooth, no puddles. There's your blue egg. So, y'all should have lines right about here. Some of them are painted in with the marker. Others are just like a light line. That shows the horizon, which is the difference between the sky and the grass. So we're going to start our blue at the horizon. So we're going to start the blue with the horizon. And we're going to paint around the outside edge of all this. Get a good outline going. Now when you get up to the white, you want to make sure your white is dry before you start outlining around it. Start on this side because this is the ear that I painted first, which means it's going to be the driest out of all of them. I wish I had better light out here. Next time I'll make sure I get some more lighting out here so I can see the dryness of the paint better. So we're going to keep outlining all the way up around the ear, around the face, and around the paw. Hear all those birds in the background? Aren't they pretty? We have a lot of birds out here where I live. But we also have a lot of squirrels. So anytime I set up a bird feeder, the squirrels attack it and they think it's a feast for them. I'm going to turn this a little just to make it easier for me to get to this side over here. Go all the way here, then I'm going to go up, down, and over there. So finish outlining around this ear here. The white on the other side is almost dry. Just remember, at any time, if you need to, you can stop the video and start it again. It's not a big deal. Makes it easier for you to do what you got to do. If you get disturbed or whatever, you could just stop and come back. Just make sure you always rinse your brushes out. Do not leave brushes sitting with paint in them. They will get hard and get ruined. I know some of you didn't get brushes from us because you had your own brushes, so hopefully you have the right brushes. Hopefully you got something that's a straight edge and some round ones. Make it easy for you to get in here and get it painted good. Now they got that corner done. rotate it again. Make sure I don't have any puddles. Let me go around this ear. He looks like he's all dry now. I know the puddles is one of the hardest things as a young painter to avoid. So just remember, you're only dipping the tip of your paintbrush into your paint. You don't want the paint to be up on the metal part. If you're getting paint on the metal part up in here, then you're dipping it way too much. Just remember the bristles. Get the bristles in the paint. If your hand's not steady, you have to go around it like this. Go from the edge and pull out all the way around it. Like that. That will also get you up close to that black line. It's a little more controllable. Kind of little hands, that works better. Once you get the outline, it's easier to get the rest of it, but you got to be careful. We're not gobbing and going real hard. You just want to paint lightly. It doesn't take much to get the paint to go to the wood. You don't have to kill your brush. If you push your brush too much, it's going to mess up all your bristles up here at the base. You're going to look like you have monster brushes instead of regular paint brushes. Keep turning it. Look, I got blue all on my hand, but it's okay. It's going to wash off. I just don't want to set it down another spot and get blue on my white ears of the bunny or anything like that. I usually end up with paint all down my arms when I'm painting. Those birds just keep singing their melodies back there. Spring is coming. It's almost here. Actually, I think we're in spring already, but... So while you still have your paintbrush with the blue, I want you to paint around your outside edge of the board from that line on up. You can see, let me turn this where you can see it. I'm just doing a little bit of paint around here just to get the paint on here, because when this is hanging on the wall, we don't want to see that raw wood. So we're going to do this side, we're going to do the top, and we're going to do the other side down to that point. When we paint the grass, we'll come back with the green and catch those edges, the other edges. As you paint this, make sure you come along this top edge and make sure there's no puddles. We don't want any puddles sitting along the edge either. Once you get the outside painted, I think the top looks pretty good. Rinse your brush. And I noticed a part of the bunny that I forgot to paint, so I'm going to come back with my white and do that while I still have white on my plate. So back with the white, back with the straight brush. This is the belly of the bunny, where he's behind the basket sitting there. So we got to paint it white as well. I almost forgot that. Outline along the top of these eggs and the basket handle. Take your time, it's not a marathon. I forgot he was sitting behind that basket like that. There, now he's all painted. Yay! We got the blue sky done. So, next thing we're going to do, let me put the blue back, let me put the white back. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to paint the nose, the ears, and of the belly of the bunny rabbit. So we're going to use our pink. Now, the pink's pretty dark, and if you're fine with the color, the darkness of the pink, it's not a big deal. If you want a light pink, you can make it even lighter. So I'm actually going to make mine a light pink, but I have a light pink, so instead of making it, I'll make it. You only have the dark pink, so I'll show you how we're going to do this. Let me open this dark pink up. So we're going to mix this to a light pink. Actually, we're going to use a dark pink first. So put our dark pink down. When you mix colors, you always want to mix with white first when you're making it lighter. So we're going to use our dark pink first because one of our eggs is a dark pink. This egg right down here on the very bottom left-hand side is a dark pink one. So before I even mix anything into that dark pink, I'm going to paint the dark pink egg. See, now I got the dark pink egg done, but I don't want his nose and the inside of his ears to be this dark. I want it a little lighter. So I'm going to rinse it out, start with a clean brush. When you mix paints, I want you to show you how we're going to do this. Get this right in front of you, okay? So we're going to take our white first. You always start out with the white because you don't want to put another color in it. I'm going to put a couple pieces. This is where I told you if you had a plate, you can use it, or if you don't have a plate, get aluminum foil. You can mix on the aluminum foil as well. I've got like 4 things of the white over there. I'm going to come over and take 1 thing of the pink, put it here, and mix it up. Keep moving it to the inside so you don't spread it out too thick, because you don't want a thick amount of it. You don't want it to be a large circle of it. You want it to be inside. So if you're mixing it in, it's going to stay all in. So I have some lighter pink. This is what I'm going to use for the nose and the inside of his ears. You don't need a whole lot because it's only little pieces. I mixed it with my flat brush, but I don't want to paint that area with my flat brush because it's tiny areas. So I'm going to go and switch to one of the round brushes, my little round brush. So I'm going to pick up some of the pink paint. I'm going to paint the inside of the nose. Paint it right over the white that we did already on there. So you pick up some of the pink. Outline it first, then paint the inside of it. I'm going to do the inside of the nose, and then we're going to do the inside of the ears. Both ears has little parts that are inside here. Now this part right here, it's not an egg. It's the bunny's belly. So we're going to make it light pink as well. Do the same thing. This I'm taking all the way up to the white, covering up that black line. So you only have the 4 little areas done in the light pink. The belly, the nose, and inside the ears. Done with the light pink, we'll rinse that brush out. Wipe them off so they're dry. I actually see a couple areas I need to touch up with the white, which is right over here on this paw. And I had some on one of the ears. It's where the blue got on it. These blue is dried. So I'd come over back with the white and cover it up. Okay. So let's let that nose dry a little bit. In the meantime, and I know there's no black in your kits, but you can make like a black. Black is a combination of multiple colors. So if you take the blue and you added a little bit of the purple, and do a little bit of purple. Oh, it's closed. It's my mistake for not giving you black. I should have put black in every single kit because that's what we use for outlining, but this one had so many different colors. It was like, what? So we can do a little bit of purple. Purple is made from using red and blue. So we've got the purple in there, and let's add a little bit of yellow. And I know this sounds really weird. Tiny bit of yellow to it. Take a flat brush and let's mix. You're going to get like a brownish color. See how that looks kind of brownish? Can you see that where I'm mixing it? Looks kind of brownish. Let's give it a little more blue pigment because that'll make it turn more more into that black. So I got some blue already on my plate, so I'm just going to pull it right out of there and mix it into it. Remember, keep moving it inward so you have a pile of it. It's not going to be a true black, but it'll be black enough that you can use it for what you need to on here. You see it? In the future, these kits will come out with a black, so. If you have a black paint from another one of your kits, you can nab out of it because it's not going to take a whole lot of it. If not, if you got a Sharpie marker, that will also work. So I'm going to use my smallest round brush. I'm going to paint the eyes black. Outline first, then fill the inside in. I'm going to do his eyebrows. I'm going to paint around the outside of his nose. Make sure that pink is dry. If not, you're going to end up smearing pink into it. Black is dominant, so you're going to end up not really seeing pink if you do that, but I'm going to come back and paint around these hands where I outlined them. Actually, don't do that right now. Let's wait because we still got to paint the basket. If I paint outline all the way around this hand, I'm going to be right into where that basket's going to be. But I'm doing all of it except where it overlaps with the basket. I can do that too. I'll just come back if I paint, while I'm painting the basket, if I paint over his hand, I'll go back and redo it. Your outline, you want your outline to be in long strokes. You don't want to go dot, 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 because then you, like, if you're going small strokes, it's going to make it look kind of fluffy versus solid stroke. Your round brush works good to get out your outlining. The width of your outline has to do with the pressure you're putting on it. While you're outlining, you want to be barely putting any pressure down, because if you put more pressure down, look, it gets thicker. We don't need a thick line. We just need a real thin line from barely putting pressure down. So just barely put your pressure down. Make your lines nice and thin. I find that outlining gives it more character, makes it look a little more finished and polished. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on our basket. Our basket is yellow. And it has a hint of orange in it, but first we're going to paint it all yellow, and then I'll show you how we're going to get the orange in there. So you should have some of y'all have different shades of yellow, so it's not really going to make a difference. I'm going to use my round brush. I'm going to go around the outline of the edge, the handle, paint it the yellow. Do the other handle on the other side. Let's do the upper rim of the basket here. We're going to make sure we line it first. Bottom of the basket. We got a couple eggs that we're going to paint yellow too, just so you know. This egg here is going to be yellow, and this egg here is going to be yellow. Once you got the basket painted, make sure you take out any puddles of paint. We don't want puddles. You want to make sure you don't see the wood color anywhere underneath there. So if you have to do second layers of certain parts of it, you can do that. Let it dry some. Then we'll come back and check this and see if we got enough coverage on this yellow. Yellow is a very hard color to get coverage on, good coverage on. Sometimes you may have to do 2 layers of it. 2 thin layers is better than 1 thick layer. No puddles. And just know as we paint this, colors are just suggestions. You can actually change colors up to any colors you want. If you want to paint all your eggs pink, you can paint them all pink. If you want to paint them all blue, you can paint them all blue. Same thing with the basket. If you want to have a purple basket, paint your basket purple. Not a big deal. It's your design. It's your creation. You can paint it whatever colors you want. Come back in with a second layer of this yellow just to get some good coverage because it looks really thin and I can still see a lot of the coloring of the wood. So if you still see a lot of wood coloring on yours, feel free to do a second layer. If you don't, you can just move right on and get the next thing we're going to be painting. So let's let that yellow dry a little bit. I'm going to open up some orange because I'm going to put some orange on that basket to make those lines. And I think we also have an egg done in orange. Rinse out my yellow brush. Dry it off with my paper towel. Grab a little bit of orange, and this egg is going to be orange right here. So I'm going to paint it first while that yellow is still drying some. Make sure there's no puddles. Get it all nice and even and smooth. Rinse it out. So now what I'm going to do is I want to work on these little lines in the basket. You can barely see them underneath the yellow paint because I didn't do them with the dark marker. I just left them with the thin pen. So I want to mix a little bit of the orange and the yellow together. So I'm going to pull a little bit of the orange over here. Pull a little bit of the orange. You have the yellow. Get a couple of the yellow into it. Let's mix it up. This is going to make it darker than the yellows there, but lighter than the orange because we don't want it as bright orange. We want it to be a little bit lighter. This is going to let us do some highlighting. I think I need a little more yellow than that, so let me add some more yellow. There. See how it's not quite as dark as this, but it's not yellow all the way. It's kind of like in between. I mixed it with a square brush, but I don't want to paint with the flat brush. Rinse it out. Go back to my little mini round brush. Get a little bit in. Those little lines that you see, just come back and paint them with this. That's going to add some dimension to your basket. Look at the weave that's on there. Doesn't have to be thick, doesn't have to be a puddle of paint, it's just a little small line. They're up the handle, they're on the rim, and they're on the basket part of it. If you used another color for your basket, let's just say you painted your basket purple, add a little bit of a darker color into it or a lighter color into it to give you another contrasting color and use that for your lines. The only colors I would suggest not using for the basket would be green or blue. And that's only because you have so much blue on the outside here, and this is going to be green here, so you don't want your basket to disappear and all that. Now if you're using your light green and then the dark green down here, that may work, but you're still going to have some lighter green in with the grass strokes that are going to come up here. So I would say any color except green or blue for the basket. And you don't want it to be the same color as your eggs, or it's all going to muddle together and you're not going to see really much of it. So, okay. Now we're going to go back and paint the rest of these eggs. We still have a few more eggs left here. This one is a purple egg. So let me see, we got purple. Whoa. Using my small round brush, pick up your purple, outline the purple egg first. And just so you know, your paint pods have way, way more paint than you will ever need for this picture. I'm sure you'll find a use for it. Maybe Mom can get you some paper and you can paint on it. Just don't paint on anything unless Mom says it's okay to paint on it. And make sure you always keep your workspace protected. I've got a garbage sack down on mine. It's my old glass table in the back of the back porch, but I still don't want paint all over it. We let that purple dry a little because I think he needs a second coat of it. I'm going to rinse my brush out, dry it off, and go to the other 2 eggs. I've got a regular green and a light green here. So I'm going to get the regular green out so I can start it. I keep forgetting I got to open all these. So with the round brush still, small round brush, I'm going to paint my regular green egg here. Outline it, then fill it in. Now we also have the regular green for the grass down here. So, but I don't want to use my round brush for that. So I'm going to rinse out my round brush, dry it off, and switch over to my very large flat brush. I'm going to go around this egg because he's sitting out in the grass. Go around the bottom of this basket.